Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be starting a brand new series called Game Analysis. In this series we'll be looking at various games played across the internet or played in real tournaments, present or the past. We will be going into deep details what are some of the interesting lines for each side and how each side can improve, and also just to have some fun and also to entertain the viewers. All right, so in today's matchup, we have IM Orlando Husbands from Barbados versus FM Josh Colas from the United States. Both of them recently completed in a Blitz knockout. I think it was a Blitz league, and Joshua did win the series overall, but both players, they did play some amazing chess. And in this particular game, we'll be looking at one of the games that was won by IM Orlando Husbands. So without much ado, let's jump straight into this game. So Orlando starts with e4, and we have e5 from Josh. Orlando plays knight f3, and Josh replies with knight c6, and Orlando plays d4. So we're now in the Scotch territory. They can either play the Scotch gambit or the pure Scotch game. So let's see what happens. E takes d4, knight takes d4, and knight f6. Immediately Orlando replies with knight takes c6, and after b takes c6, he went ahead with e5. So we are in the main line. Nothing much new here. This is odd theory, and queen e7 was played here. Interestingly, black can also go knight d5 in this position, which is another main move, but Josh sticks to queen e7, queen e2, and immediately Orlando has a threat. He's threatening e takes f6 because the pawn is no longer pinned on e5. So Josh replied with knight d5, and immediately Orlando attacked it. Bishop a6, pinning this pawn to the queen. So of course white can't play c takes d5 because he will hang the queen. Orlando played b3 and g6. Everything here is pretty standard, nothing new here, nothing to scream about just yet. The interesting stuff will come in a few moves. Orlando replied with f4, and we have d6 from Josh. And now the fun is about to get started. Here Orlando played, he played queen f2. Also interesting and can be played here is bishop b2. This can be played again, it's just another main line, but Orlando sticks with queen f2, immediately threatening to play c takes d5 winning a piece. So it is now Josh's turn to reply. He played knight f6, and of course white can't take on f6 because the pawn is still pinned to the king. So how should Orlando treat this position? He played bishop e2, sacrificing a pawn, but just trying to get his king out of the center. And Josh took the pawn. He is up for the challenge, and immediately Orlando castled. And now we have a very interesting position on the board. Black is temporarily up a pawn, or it could be permanently, depending if he decides to take on f4. However, white king is castled. Black still needs two moves to complete his castling. King side, he could play bishop g7, or he could just castle queen side, but of course he will drop the pawn on a7, and that's not a very safe place for the king at this current point. So what did Josh play? He played bishop e7. slightly suspect move that is almost losing the game on spot. He had a lot of more interesting moves that he could play. So let's go back one move. There are two very interesting lines here that black could play to keep the position just about balanced, if not slightly better for black. The first one is queen c5. Now what's the idea behind queen c5? Of course, if queen takes queen, bishop takes queen, the king moves, and knight e4 should be good enough, and black is up a healthy pawn, and he has significant threats against the king. So in this position, white would play bishop e3, blocking the queen trade. However, black can respond with knight e4. Knight e4 is hitting the queen. That's first and foremost. So if he plays bishop takes c5, he would play bishop takes c5, pinning back the queen to the king. So let's take a look at that. If bishop takes c5, bishop takes c5, the queen is pinned, and now queen takes c5, knight takes c5. All right, so this is one way the game could continue, but let's look at the other line, because both of them are pretty similar in this queen to c5. So queen to c5, bishop e3, knight e4, queen f3, and now black can play this very well, only move, but yet still it's very beautiful. Queen takes e3, queen takes e3, bishop c5 again, queen takes, knight takes c5, and now white would take back on e5. So if we look at this position, the pawn count is equal. However, this knight is yet to be developed. This pawn is far advanced on e5. So black should just castle, put the rooks on e8, put the other rook on d8, slowly reroute the bishop to f5, and maybe put the knight to e6 to d4. And in general, that position should be ever so slightly easier to play for white. But all in all, it should be an equal position. All right, so let's go back a little bit. So queen c5. So even if black decides not to play queen c5 to exchange the queens, he also has even stronger knight e4. So of course knight e4 is hitting the queen immediately, and if queen f3, f5, so the knight solidly sits on e5, and black is about to play bishop g7 and castle kingside. And all in all, this position should be preferred for black, especially due to this weak diagonal. Okay, but enough of that sideline. Let's jump back over to the main game. All right, so g6, let's jump down to bishop g7, and immediately we will start to see some of the problems with this move. Orlando replied with bishop a3, hitting the queen. Josh played queen e6, so for the time being he can't castle kingside, and Orlando completes the development, connecting the rook. So white development is completed. He is ready to take serious action against the black king. And in this position, black played e takes f4. Wow. This is the good stuff, guys. This is the good stuff. So of course, what's happening here? First of all, he's threatening queen e3 to pin and exchange the queens. So white calmly plays rook fe1, extracting the queen, getting ready to move the bishop to some favorable squares. And in this position, black castled queenside. was almost an only move to get the king out of the center. And we see the discovery that was lined up. Bishop f3. It's interesting to note if white plays the immediate queen takes a7, black can reply with queen e3, exchanging the queens, and black should be absolutely fine in this position. So backtracking a few moves, Orlando first prevents this, and when the queen moves to f5, then he takes on a7, threatening simply queen takes a6, winning a piece and winning the game. Now Josh played the only move, bishop b7, and now things are about to get extremely beautiful. Orlando replied with knight b5. Of course, the obvious threat is if black takes on b5, then simply queen takes b7 should be enough to just win the game on the spot. So instead, Joshua played knight g4, and now Orlando played bishop takes c6. The important point here is if bishop takes c6, queen takes c7 is checkmate. So bishop takes c6, queen takes c7, checkmate. So Josh played queen takes b5, and we might be thinking white blundered because he's now threatening bishop d4 to exchange the queens. However, Orlando took on b5, and black went ahead with bishop d4 check, queen takes d4, rook takes d4, and bishop b2, eyeing both rooks. Black is now in trouble, and bishop takes c6 was played. Bishop takes d4, first hitting the rook, and the bishop is also being hit. So black played rook d8, and white took on c6, and rook takes d4 and rook d8. And the only move for black in this position is to play rook to d8, blocking, and rook takes d8, king takes d8, and rook d1, check. And it was in this position that black resigned. Why did he resign? The pawns are equal, so both sides have 5 pawns. However, white is up the exchange, the rook versus the knight, and he has a very strong outside pass pawn. There's not much to be done in this position for black. So of course black resigned here, and they did continue the match, which Joshua went on to win. We might show one of Joshua's win because quite a few of them were quite beautiful. So guys, thanks for watching. We'll be releasing a games analysis quite often on the channel, so please be sure to hit that subscribe and also drop a like on the video, and I will definitely catch you guys in the next one. Peace.